we are sort of closing the circle. We started with the presentation from Ali from the client side, and then we had some information presentation about the activities of ICMCI, and now we are closing it with another view on the client side, another view on market. And that is a view that is delivered by Dr. Graham Manville, and he is reporting about the new economies from oil countries, because the economic situation in oil countries is changing a lot. And I see Graham is already here. Thanks to be here on time. And he gives us a view on a special market situation. And Graham, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to International Consultants Day 2022, Consultants of the Future, and my section on today, which is oil countries and the new economies. I'm going to provide an insight into the future. So let me introduce myself. My name is Dr. Graham Manville, and I'm a CMC academic fellow. I'm an associate professor employed at Zayed University in the United Arab Emirates. So what I'm going to do is give a brief overview of my background. I'm going to then look at COP28 and net zero targets and how that's going to influence the transitioning economy. I'm going to provide a further focus on the United Arab Emirates by taking a sector by sector look and looking at selected highlights of how new economies and new initiatives are coming out of these particular sectors. And then finally, just a review of opportunities for consultants in the UAE. So a little bit about myself. I founded a company called Longview Consulting back in 1999, which was then incorporated in 2003. I've been a full-time academic for 22 years, and within academia, I work with students in undergraduate, postgraduate, and MBA programs, and many of them are involved in work integrated learning, where they're actually working with live clients. As a practitioner, I achieved my CMC award with the UK Institute of Consulting back in 2006. And as an academic, I'm research active with a practical focus. So what that means is what I teach is what I research, is what I consult. And I think all of them are extremely linked and provides added value. And one way of illustrating that is the consulting book that I edited back in 2018. So this is a global book. It's an MBA audience, and it identified case studies right across the world with high quality academics that have had a prior background in consulting. So what I wanted to do was to bridge the gap between what I call the airport book and the detailed academic textbook, to provide practice, but also with strong academic rigor as well. And I think we achieved that. And as I say, it was an edited book with lots of contributions from talented consultants from around the world. Now, I noticed Ali was talking about pineapples in Venezuela. In my book, there's also a chapter of lemons from the USA, about how Lemonera used consulting practices to help them in their growth objectives. So in terms of the location and the case studies of the book, you can see it is a global perspective, and it covers all aspects: not-for-profit, NGO, public sector, indigenous, Maori consulting, sub-Saharan African, and also global merger and acquisitions, and also internal consultants too. So what I wanted to focus on in this presentation was the oil countries and the economies. So here's a little diagram from Forbes, and it shows the top 5 largest Arab economies in 2021. Now, as you can see, Saudi Arabia is number 1, UAE is number 2, Egypt's number 3, Iraq, Qatar are 4 and 5. Now, many oil-producing countries are going to have major challenges in making that transition to a more sustainable and balanced economy. Several of these countries have already committed to the COP26 net zero targets. So, for instance, UAE and Egypt have pledged to achieve that by 2050. Saudi Arabia has more of a challenge, and they've agreed to achieve that by 2060. But UAE is quite unique in the region in the sense that the economy is probably more balanced than what most people think. So although it is an oil and gas OPEC producing country, it does have other aspects to its economy as well. So energy does account for 38%, which is a substantial part of the economy. Real estate is 22, retail 12, tourism 9, logistics 8, and others including financial services 11. So before I go into each sector, what I wanted to do is just show why organisations employ consultancy. Consultants are there to help businesses to improve and grow their business and to improve financial performance. Well, that can be increased and improved through increasing revenue, i.e. selling more products and services, or by differentiating and selling higher quality products and services. Or alternatively, you can reduce the cost base, i.e. making employees more efficient and getting more value out of your employees. But at the same time, you obviously need to address challenges of well-being at work and other aspects. In addition to that, organisations can improve their processes, which is occasionally done through automation. Now, I like this diagram because it shows why organisations employ management consultancies. So obviously conventional wisdom is it's because of specialist knowledge. We are subject matter expertise in a particular area, we have got industry-specific knowledge, or we represent the use of a particular organisation. But occasionally, consultants are employed because of the power of and the effectiveness of the consultants to implement and to ensure that the project comes in time and to budget. Another aspect is it provides independence and impartiality. So the UAE has a number of leading business schools in the region. Some of them are American satellites, some of them are UK satellites, but they produce a lot of MBA graduates. So many organisations do have that specialism there. But what the value a consultant brings is they provide independence and impartiality and obviously a distance from corporate politics. Now, sometimes larger consultancy practices are sought where maybe rubber stamping or validation of internal work is required, and it provides that kudos. Occasionally, if you're managing change, you perhaps maybe want to have the consultants as the conduit of change, because once the change is complete, the organisation's employees still need to work on it. So these are reasons why consultants are employed. This is a model developed by Ringland and Shalit, which I like. So if we look at the UAE and the changing times, the need to rebalance the economy away from oil and gas, and also to ensure that the other sectors are maintaining their effectiveness too. So COP26 committed many countries to zero emissions by 2050. Now that's a big challenge. What that means is that globally, all new cars in leading markets by 2035 will not be internal combustion engines. And globally by 2040, all new cars and vans will not be internal combustion engine. So that's a major challenge, and organisations and countries need to provide an economic business case for switching. We all know that the environment is affecting business and also affecting the future prosperity of countries and also the quality of life. But the organisations and countries need to transition with an economic justification. Now, one thing that UAE is driverless cars. So driverless taxis are going to be launched in Dubai by 2023. The legislation, the changes in behaviours on the roads are already underway. You've got cameras and surveillance which enforce driver awareness. In addition to that, they're rolling out new charging infrastructure which will provide that nudging behaviour. And with fuel prices increasing as well, it does provide that additional push towards organisations making that transition. So that's exciting times ahead. So there's a new chapter in an existing industry, and consultants may well play a major part in that transition. In COP28, this is going to be hosted by the United Arab Emirates in November 2023. And one of the focuses that UAE is looking at is investing in clean energy. So although we sit on vast oil fields, we're looking at alternative fuels such as hydrogen as a clean fuel, carbon capture and storage, and also solar energy. And the last one, solar energy, here's an example of just such a project. This is the Al Dhafra project, and it's the largest solar farm in the world. You've got 4 million solar panels, which will generate electricity and power that can power 160,000 homes across the UAE. And what that will do is it will cut emissions by more than 2.4 million metric tons a year. So that's equivalent to removing 470,000 cars from the roads. It's not literally removing the cars, it's the equivalent. Again, that's a challenge and an aspiration, and organisations are going to need consultants to help them achieve those aspirations and targets. Another is on one of the areas of logistics. So logistics covers rail, maritime, and air. Now, the UAE, up until recently, did not really have a national rail infrastructure. And it certainly doesn't carry passenger transport. And as I've said previously, we do love our cars, and it's a challenge for us to move away from that. Now, one initiative is the Etihad rail project, and what they're seeking to do is to unify all of the Emirate states and also connect it to the wider GCC region. Stage 1 and Stage 2 have already been implemented, so the track is now being laid, and 70% of the overall track has been laid. And what that will do is it will rebalance the economy in terms of taking freight from those Emirate states to those major ports such as Jebel Ali Port, Khalifa Port, Abu Dhabi, and Dubai. In addition to that, you've got the likes of Emirates, Sky Cargo. So during the pandemic, when many of the planes were grounded, Emirates pivoted by converting their passenger airlines into freight. And That accounts for around 17 billion in terms of revenue. And then in addition to that, we've got the major ports, and those major ports are using the latest technologies such as Industry 4.0 to manage logistics, inventory, scheduling, and logistics. So that's the logistics sector. Another interesting sector is the retail sector. So most of you may well be familiar with Dubai as having a number of major malls, which you've got the Dubai Mall, the Mall of Emirates. But an interesting project which is taking place in Abu Dhabi is the Ream Mall. And this is an interesting one because it's an integrated retail, omnichannel and digital retail initiative. So what it means is people will still be using the malls in terms of footfall and physical purchases, but the malls will also be enabled with smartphone technology, which means that there'll be a digital gateway to up to 57 million GCC customers. So the mall is equipped to ship direct to customers. So it's going to be the region's first omni-channel retail shopping centre. It's a 1.2 billion project. This particular mall has 450 retail stores, 85 food outlets, and world-class entertainment services such as theatre, cinema, and even a snow park soon at 40 degrees. Using solar energy, you can actually have a cool recreation in the steering heat. Another aspect of the UAE's economy is tourism. Now again, we're all familiar with probably Dubai and Burj Khalifa and Burj Al Arab 7-star hotel. UAE is also home to Yas Marina, which hosts the annual Grand Prix and has world-class theme parks such as Warner Brothers, Ferrari World. But in addition to that, there's lots of new developments in their islands. So, for instance, Al Reem Island has been redeveloped, Saadiyat Island has been redeveloped as a tourist destination, and Jubail Island too. So there's lots of development going on, which is going to increase tourism into the region. And as well as the new, we've also got the old as well. So we've got one of the grandest mosques in the region, which is the Sheikh Zayed Mosque, which is a gorgeous mosque which is made of white marble. Truly spectacular sight. And in addition to that, Abu Dhabi also hosts the Louvre, which is also very close to many of the cruise ports. So it provides a lot of footfall. So tourism in the UAE is forecast to play a major role in the future's economy. Another is real estate. So real estate in terms of construction. There are many construction companies, but some of the larger ones are Aldar, Omar, and Damak. So Aldar is very strong in Abu Dhabi. Omar has the Burj Khalifa, and Damak manages luxury accommodation. But in addition to that, there's new technologies. So there's new technologies in terms of 3D printing of houses. Yes, 3D printing of houses. So this is a potential solution for social housing or for low-rise housing. And Sharjah has actually showcased one of the prototype homes. And you can see the structure being developed there. In addition to that, many of the existing buildings are being retrofitted. So they're being retrofitted to minimize energy consumption and to make them more energy efficient. And then obviously the major property development companies here provide the construction of those world-class iconic buildings that have become synonymous with the UAE. So that's the selection of particular sectors. So just revisit why consultancy or why businesses employ management consultants. Obviously, specialist knowledge, implementation, independence, and impartiality are important. But what valuable role consultants do is they also capacity build capability and knowledge transfer and help organisations to be able to develop it themselves. So as a management consultant, I try to make myself obsolete by transferring that knowledge. Now, it may seem a little short-term, but it provides that relationship with the fact that they can see value from it, and they can also develop and grow as a business as well. So particularly with consulting, it's a collaborative affair. It's not necessarily a consultancy practice telling the organisation what it needs to do. It's a collaborative journey of partnering for long-term relationships. So there are massive opportunities in the UAE. You've got major consultancy practices such as McKinsey and BCG. There, you've got major boutique consultancies. You've got the big four, and even the smaller consultancies as well. So there are massive opportunities, and what I want to do is play my small part in developing management consulting in the region. And with that, I'd just like to thank you for your time. And if any of you have any questions, feel free to contact me on my university email address, graham.manville@the.ac.ae. And feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. So thank you very much for the opportunity to present.